Welcome to my presentation on video games and mental health. I am Emily Hernandez. In this presentation, we'll be discussing the link between video games and well-being. We will be doing a literature review on 4 research articles linking video games to mental health. And we will be discussing my survey study on video games and mental health, the sample, method, and application. The first article we'll be discussing is called Gaming Well, Link Between Video Games and Flourishing Mental Health by Jones et al. 2014. And all the details of all the articles will be in the references section at the very end of the presentation. The purpose for this study is to understand the positive intersections between gaming and mental health, to document any evidence in regard to a link between well-being and mental health, and to help in creating guidelines for use by other researchers when they create tools or develop games to improve mental health and well-being. This study used a number of literature on the topic to review, focusing on ages from elementary age to high school age children. It also acknowledges that literature in the past focuses on the negative aspects of gaming and makes note of that. However, the focus here is on the positive effects. This article's author explicitly review emerging research on the topic of positive mental health outcomes and gaming. This review uses Seligman's model of well-being, which contains 5 elements: positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. Positive emotion is the ability, opportunity, and experience of feeling things like happiness, joy, or anything else you would consider to be a positive emotion. Engagement is the ability to be fully immersed in an activity that you lose sight of time and have new energy. Relationships are how a person's relationships relate to their state of happiness, health, and well-being. Meaning is the sense of purpose and fulfillment in daily life. Someone can have a sense of purpose when there is meaning to the activity they are participating in. Accomplishment is having goals and accomplishing them. Accomplishment leads to higher feelings of well-being. The method was a literature review, and the results show that gameplay contribute widely to well-being and positive mental health outcomes. As time moves forward, we're entering an age where we have billions of gamers worldwide. Video games are a billion-dollar industry, and we have wide access from smartphones to gaming consoles to PCs. Over 95% of homes with children under the age of 18 have a device that allows them to play. 90% of people aged 16 to 25 play video games, and in 2005, the average age of a gamer was 24. The second percentage closely ties into some of the age ranges that are used in my survey, which we will see later in the presentation. This article, titled Commercial Video Games as a Resource for Mental Health, a Systematic Literature Review by Boldy and Rapp, 2021, was an interesting read. The aim of this article was to provide a roadmap of sorts for clinicians or researchers to decide which genres of games would best address certain mental health disorders. My focus was on anxiety and depression. However, this article presented good information on PTSD and dementia treatment with gaming. The researchers used 39 articles on video gaming and positive mental health. In their method for analyzing the data, they used grounded theory literature review method. This is rooted in grounded theory, which is an approach used in social sciences for examining empirical data. The researcher also followed a specific set of criteria for the selection of articles used. The articles had to address psychological or psychiatric disorders or conditions. The articles had to tackle commercial video games, and they had to present a study on human participants. The article had to be discussed in at least one aspect affected by gameplay. And lastly, the articles had to have been published from 2010 to 2020. Oh, and the articles also had to be peer-reviewed. Results of this review show that gaming was a valid addition to medical interventions for mood disorders without the negative side effects, and it's actually more affordable. It is non-invasive without associated stigma and can be self-administered by the patient along with their medical interventions like medication. Individuals can enter a state of flow. A state of flow is a state of mind characterized by immersion, accomplishment, focus, and loss of time awareness. Hazel et al. 2022. Experiencing flow is tied to positive mental outcomes and reduces symptoms of anxiety and depression. More research should be done in order to address the amount of time one should play in order to get the best outcomes. There are negative factors associated with excessive amounts of time played, which can add to depressive and anxiety symptoms. Excessive time played may also affect sociability negatively, which will add to those symptoms as well. Many researchers lack knowledge of gaming tech, and gaming companies don't have the mental health knowledge that would make the games more effective. So these aspects need to be addressed in future research as well. This article ties in with my survey because it deals with the effects of gaming on mental health. It was also interesting in that the researchers assigned specific genres to games to the different mental health issues. Massively multiplayer online role-playing games address, like World of Warcraft, benefit social emotionality because of the social engagement of many players interacting with the individual's character and having to complete tasks together. Action games reduce depressive symptoms. Action adventure video games can influence both cognitive and behavioral aspects from simple acts like customizing an avatar to look like you. Tetris in the puzzle game arena has been shown to be a great addition to eye movement desensitization reprocessing, or EMDR, in helping veterans suffering from PTSD. Casual games, like the ones played on a smartphone or iPad, don't require regular time commitments or expertise, which makes them widely accessible to all types of players. These games have been shown to promote the individual's ability to experience flow. And they give immediate feedback. So the games will say something like, great job or well done. And that can add to your well-being as well. Casual games are really good for treating anxiety and depression. It was an interesting read, and I enjoyed the breakdown of the game genres, though I mostly focused on the ones for anxiety and depression. This article, titled Exploring the Possible Mental Health and Well-Being Benefits of Video Games for Adult Players, a cross-sectional study by Hazel et al. 2022, had the purpose to identify correlations between video games, player demographics, well-being, and the in-play psychological processes for adult players. Data was taken from adults who were 18 and over through an anonymous cross-sectional survey posted on Google Forms. Invitations were put out through Twitter and Facebook groups, which participants were allowed to respond to. The survey was left open for a period of about 5 months, and only completed surveys were analyzed. The data was collected across several variables: duration of play, genres played, whether they saw a positive psychological impact. Survey questions were taken from validated tools with reliable psychometric properties. Examples are the Warwick Edinburgh Mental Wellbeing Scale and the Flourishing Scale. A multivariate multiple regression model was used with the 7 score variables. Demographic and perceived benefit variables and genre were predictor variables. The researcher got a good sample size at 2,107 valid responses, ranging in gender, in age, and country. The results show most participants at 88.4% thought that gaming had psychological or emotional benefits for them. 9% were unsure, and 2.4% did not experience any benefits. Benefits differed by genre and gender. Men believed that they received more benefits from first person shooters or FPS games, while women saw more benefits from Sims type games. RPGs or role playing games were seen as the most beneficial genre overall for positive mental health outcomes. This research article tied in closely with my survey as they were in the correct age bracket and, like the previous article, focused on genres that treated specific disorders. The purpose of this article, titled Gaming Your Mental Health, a narrative review on mitigating symptoms of depression and anxiety using commercial video games by Kowal et al. 2021, is to example the recent research on commercial video games in ameliorating symptoms for depression and anxiety. The article looks at past research specific to video games, treating depression and anxiety. It looks at about 11 different aspects of mental health and which games address them. Those aspects include goal achievement, depressive mood, general anxiety, state anxiety, cognition, emotional regulation, and preoperative anxiety, among others. Results show that the researchers demonstrated that there is sufficient evidence showing commercial video games benefit individuals by decreasing symptoms of depression and anxiety, and only just through gameplay, and not only just through gameplay, but through accessibility and low financial impact. Additionally, gaming is already really popular in the 18 to 34 age group. They comprise of 38% of gamers, while ages 34 to 54 comprise of 26% of gamers. This article appealed to me, and I wanted to include it because it did have a table which listed what mental health issues are treated by which game genre and specific game titles. Knowing what games treat which symptoms would greatly help a researcher in decision making before and during their study. If my survey was an actual study, I could see myself referencing this one a lot. So the researcher question we're trying to answer here is, what are the benefits of video games for people suffering from mental health issues? So let's get into it. We'll start with population and sample. The population was supposed to be any person between the ages of 18 to 50. Participant requirements required that they be between those ages and diagnosed with depression, anxiety, or a compulsive disorder within the last 6 months. To be honest, I don't know why I included the compulsive disorder, since I mostly found the articles that discussed anxiety and depression, but there it is. The sample size for this survey was 13 participants. We'll be getting into the breakdown on demographics in future slides. This research study was a 21-item survey administered through Google Forms. The demographic questions were multiple choice, while the rest were rated on a Likert scale, with 1 equaling strongly disagree to 5 equaling strongly agree. I used the PHQ-9 for depression and the GAD-7 for anxiety to create some, but not all of the questions, and you can see those in the slides coming up. The intended use for the survey is to measure the effectiveness of treating the symptoms of anxiety, depressive, and compulsive disorder over time. And if this were an actual study, I'd administer it before, during, and after the research period to see how symptoms have improved, and to see if video games are a valid method for treating disorders. This slide shows that there was an informed consent before the survey was administered, and that had to be read and agreed upon before the participant could continue with the study. This slide is where we see a breakdown of ages, who participated in the study, and then we see the ages 40 to 50 as the majority of participants at 53.8%. Ages 18 to 29 at 30.8%, and ages 30 to 39 at 15.4%. This slide shows what race participants identified as. I made sure to keep an opt-out option for this question, as some might not be comfortable answering. So we have the white Caucasian at 61.5%, Hispanic Latino at 23.1%, prefer not to answer, and Black / African American are about the same at 7.7%. In this slide, we get the demographic information on what gender the participants identify as. Again, I made sure to keep an opt-out option for participants who are not comfortable answering. So we had 76.9% who identified as female, 15.4% identified as male, and 7.7% preferred not to answer. I feel comfortable in group settings. I chose this question because it's one that would help me in decision making in regard to what genre or specific game would help someone who has anxiety related to social situations. I also wanted to find out if social anxiety is going to be something I'd want to include in the study. Why address it if if no one is actually suffering it from the study in the study? If they are suffering from this type of anxiety, we know from other research that video games can benefit them. I feel comfortable starting a conversation with strangers. Here we want to find out more about the level of anxiety a participant has when it comes to social situations. This, in conjunction with the previous question, can help tell us the difference between maybe an introverted person and someone suffering from social anxiety. I can set and achieve goals. Some video games are really helpful when it comes to goal setting. RPGs, also known as role-playing games, are known to have specific missions, which can give an individual a sense of accomplishment. Achieving goals is greatly beneficial to those suffering from depressive symptoms. Games like Portal 2 can also promote goal achievement and reappraisal, facilitate flexibility and efficient flexibility as an emotional regulation tool. Kowal et al. 2021. I can calm myself when I feel angry. Here we are trying to gauge the participants' ability for emotional regulation. Is it something that they're practicing? Moderate gameplay has actually been seen to contribute to positive emotions, making self-regulation of emotions more likely. And this is more significant with the help of therapeutic services. Jones et al. 2014. I feel alone. This question will help me gauge the level of interconnectedness that the participant is feeling. Specific games like Animal Crossing, New Horizons, or Minecraft have been seen to promote social connectedness, fight feelings of loneliness, and maintain social interactions over time to reduce depressive symptoms. Kowal et al. 2021. This comes from the multiplayer aspect of those games. I am easily annoyed or irritated. This is one of the questions that was inspired by the GAT-7. Annoyance and irritation can sometimes be a symptom of anxiety. One study found that 30 to 40 minutes of gameplay with only specific games, so about 4 times a week, could reduce the state trait, anxiety severity, and comorbid anxiety. Failing means that I'm a failure. Feelings of being a failure are linked to depressive disorders. This question was inspired by the PHQ-9, which assesses for depression. RPGs are a therapeutic tool which can change individuals' ingrained patterns of thinking and question self-schemas. Kowal et al. 2021. I am easily discouraged. Video games, which allow for achievements, can contribute to the individual's ability to experience flow, which I talked about in a previous slide. Those who experience flow are more likely to have positive mental health outcomes. This question, like most or almost all of the others, are gauging where the participant is rating to better inform the study. I get extremely frustrated when things don't turn out the way I expect them to. This question was chosen in order to gauge the participants' ability to self-regulate emotions. By doing this, the researcher is better able to choose the game or genre of games, which will be used in the study. I am proud of my accomplishments. This question's purpose is to see how well a participant is able to identify achievements when they occur. This can help provide the researcher with a focus in regard to the study. I find it hard to focus, even if it's something I like to do. This question is to help give more insight into the participants. Inability to focus is a really common symptom of anxiety. Well, actually, both anxiety and depression. The question will help in the decision-making process for researchers when it comes to games they will be using. I notice when my happiness increases. The answers to this question can help provide researchers with more insight into the participants. Those who notice when their happiness increases may yield better results during and after treatment. I feel comfortable when I'm by myself. This question works with others in order to find out whether the participants have some social anxiety. When this is found out, researchers can then decide which games will be of most benefit to the participants suffering from it. I can identify when I'm having intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts are associated with depression and anxiety. Fast-paced action games have been seen to reduce rumination in individuals with depression. This question can help in the selection of games specific to depression and anxiety suffered by participants. I would describe myself as impulsive. Impulsivity can be common with anxiety disorders. This question is posed to help identify this trait in participants. I have a hard time finishing a task because I want it to be perfect. Perfectionism can be seen in people suffering from anxiety. Again, this question is intended to give the researcher more insight into the participants and their symptoms of anxiety. I find talk therapy to be the best method for dealing with my symptoms. Certain games work best in conjunction with talk therapy. This question can help the researcher gain insight into what the participants think about talk therapy. Would they be opposed to trying it in the course of the research? Would they enjoy it? Narrative therapy has actually been seen to be really beneficial in conjunction with playing RPGs. And that's because these games allow for the externalization and reauthoring of experiences. Boldy and Rapp 2021. Key takeaways from this research are that video games provide a wide array of benefits to all types of mental health disorders, not just anxiety and depression. Video games have been seen to treat things like dementia and PTSD. Even though there are great benefits, there are also some limitations and challenges. For example, those who spend more than 5 hours a day gaming can have higher rates of depression because it affects their self-esteem and their ability to make connections with others in real life. And just recapping some of the things we've gone over, depression, some video games have been shown to decrease depressive symptoms by the use of promoting interconnectedness, challenging negative self-schemas, and promotes healthy action. For anxiety, video games have been shown to reduce symptoms of anxiety disorders. Use of video games can facilitate anxiety management within many age groups. Other benefits of video games are that video games have helped with other disorders like PTSD and dementia. How will this study enhance the therapeutic process? This study will help narrow down the choices of video games used in treatment, decide the best method or theory to use in conjunction with the video game therapy, and it will benefit not only the participants but also the individuals who may undergo video game treatment in the future. Here are my references. All right, thank you for watching. That brings us to the end of the presentation.